You're tuned in to Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, live every weekday on the Nation Network YouTube.
Trade deadline, 16 days until Erik Karlsson.
Hopefully 0 days till Erik Karlsson.
Frank Seravalli stopping by Sherwood for Giant Game Day. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the lead. Oilers Nation every day coming to you live on the Nation Network YouTube, also on Facebook, also on Twitter. The chat is popping. Hit that like button if you're already stopping in. JT gets the first comment of the day. Campbell shutout today with Oilers going on a winning streak again. He says 4-0 or 5-0. Also, it's noon. Waiver news potentially. We have it all covered today, live from the Sports Closet studio, sportscloset.ca, and 3 locations in the Edmonton area. Jay, I believe you stopped by. First off,
I must stop you right there.
Yeah.
In the middle of your Sports Closet ad read is, I've got a bag.
Yeah.
And you're probably wondering what's in this bag. Well, I went to Sports Closet virtually about 2 weeks ago because I was just in absolute heat over Clem Costin. And Sports Closet jumped into the DMs and said, we can help you. And what do we have here? A fresh Costin Royal Blue jersey.
That looks good.
I can't wait. I got to go to a game. I got to rock it. I'm very excited.
Let me take a look.
Oh, okay, sure. You're going to...
What I like, and people who don't look at the jerseys up close, I love the detail they added around like the oil drop now with that little 3D look on there. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And even on the bottom of the letters. This is legit.
It's a classic jersey. The royal blue is very nice. Thank you.
Fight strap
you got to have
it.
the fight strap.
Got the pro stitch, 3 layers of twill. Sports Closet knows
All
what
the
they're
twill.
doing.
900 layers of twill.
Beautiful.
So
Gonna be rocking that tonight?
I'm gonna probably wear this all the time. But I can't wait to wear this to an Oiler game. And also in Toronto.
AMA travel. We are well under a month until the trip to Toronto, and only a couple more spots left.
We have 4 spots remaining. So if you are 4 individuals or 2 pairs or 3 people and
3 people in 1 trench coat.
Yes,
sure.
But don't try to buy one trip and pull a fast one on us. We will see right through that. But come and join us.
NationGear.ca, our friends at AMA Travel, have a fantastic trip to Toronto. I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. Dan's going to be there. Bagnoke's going to be there. Whole crew?
Whole crew. I don't think Dan can actually make
so
it.
it's
I
me,
might have to be the trip host on this one, which I'm more than happy to be.
It's going to be a lot of fun. NationGear.ca is where you can find out more, courtesy of our friends at AMA Travel. The lead today, Jay, it's been a few days since we've had you on the show. Frank Seravalli is going to be stopping by. So before we ask Frank questions, I will ask you, what are you itching to know from our insider friend, Frank?
Who are we getting? Frank? Tell us. Give us all the dirt. I know you're working the phones and talking to every single GM, and you know what's up. What can we get out of Frank today? What kind of nuggets of information can we get from Frank?
We're going to pry.
Is there smoke around Patty Kane? Is there smoke around Karlsson? Are we circling back to Chychrun? Is Gavrikov all the way back in the mix? Or are we going to get Ryan O'Reilly?
Frank had a new article up yesterday, and we teased it right at the end of the show. And he threw out an idea for Patrick Kane to come to the Oilers. He said, Patrick Kane to Edmonton. To Chicago goes Xavier Bourgault, Jesse Puljujarvi, a 2023 second-round pick, and a 5th-round pick for that third-party broker to get involved. Would you do that deal? Bourgault in a second is basically the move to get Patty Kane here for 4 months.
The only reality to that one is that he's going to be a true rental, which, depending on what our other moves are, like, is this like the Kevin Lowe 06 like chips on the table move, and that's one of the pieces that I'm in? But
it can't be the only move, is what you're saying.
It cannot be the only move because we've got a few other holes to address.
I agree with that 100%. I think if you go out and make a big splash elsewhere, preferably on the blue line if Patty Kane's the other move, then yeah, go get Patty Kane, bolster the forward group, and you're going to be really, really hard to beat come playoff time. The YouTube chat is buzzing. Dr. Gonzo said 100 likes at least if there was 200 in the chat. He says 4 points for McDavid tonight. Revenge game for number 97 after having his point streak snapped against the Montreal Canadiens. Guitar Maniac says, can't wait for Karlsson to Edmonton. I mean, this is the Erik Karlsson era. We are going to look back. I said this yesterday. We're going to look back on this 2-week run as the Erik Karlsson courting period. I don't know if it's going to end.
Even if we don't get him, he'll still go up in the rafters as a hell of an Oiler.
Yep. 100%. Man, the chat is buzzing. I can't even keep track of what you guys are saying in there. Ryan Spatowski, though, says Toronto. Woo! He's coming.
Yeah, Ryan's coming. That's exciting.
That'll be good. Sergeant Battle, I think we should spend another episode arguing about Erik Karlsson and Jacob Chychrun. I think we're just going to let Frank set the record straight on that one. But before we get into Frank Seravalli, because he's coming up in a few minutes, and yes, we'll get into the Sherwood 4 Giant game day and all that, I wanted to reference something he talked about on Daily Faceoff Live today, which goes live every day, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, leading up to the deadline. You won't want to miss a show live on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. He brought up this chart here. And it's the third-party broker cost in real dollars, Jay. And I think a lot of people were wondering, or at least I was wondering this. I know a lot of people were wondering, we keep hearing that term, third-party broker. How much will it cost if the Oilers want Patty Kane retained by a third team or Jonathan Toews retained by a third team? And keep in mind, this is for rentals, right? This is for dollars this year. The important part of this chart is real dollars. So you look at Patty Kane, $10.5 million on the cap. The Oilers want to get that retained twice. So on the cap, Patty Kane is like $2.75 million. Mm-hmm. That's the goal. That's the play. But it's important to remember Patrick Kane's base salary for this season is $2.9 million. We're already halfway through the season. So that number, he's been paid a good chunk of that. Mm-hmm. Let's just say for the sake of this, it's $1.5 million left for him to earn from now till the end of the year. I know the math is a little off.
Pause, everyone. We're about to enter the Yaremchuk segment of the episode.
Yeah, you're gonna get a look into how I do math in my head. So he maybe has, for the sake of this argument, $1.5 million left. The Hawks are going to retain 50% of it. So now there's only $750K left for him to be paid. Another team is going to retain half of that potentially, or maybe even a little bit less. But that half is only $375,000. So when you look at the chart, you can say, all right, it's going to probably be a 4th-round pick for a team to pick up half of Patty Kane. Now, he has a little bit less than that. The math isn't 100% right. It works out to, as Frank pointed out, a 5th-round pick. But I think that's an important thing to remember when we're talking about these money laundering kind of deals here.
Laundering, yeah.
Well, that's really what it is. You're laundering salary through a third party to get the cap hit down. Because all the Oilers...
transparently laundering money.
Yeah. All the Oilers care about is getting that cap hit down so they can squeeze in their deadline ad. And it's worth remembering this isn't relevant for, say, an Erik Karlsson or a Jacob Chychrun deal because of the amount of years left on the contract, it just doesn't quite line up. But even for a guy like Jonathan Toews, his base salary, like Kane, $2.9 million. He's already been paid a good chunk of it. It will probably only cost you a 5th-round pick to get a third-party team to step in and keep a chunk of Jonathan Toews. So just something interesting before we really get into the weeds of the trade talk with Frank Seravalli is when you hear about retaining dollars, it's not the team keeping the money doesn't care about the cap hit. Arizona doesn't care about the cap hit. Whoever it ends up being does not care. They care about what the real dollars are. And they're basically at that point just paying cash for a draft pick. And that chart kind of outlines, what you have to give up. Worth noting. Because I think 100%. A lot of people hear, oh, you're asking a team to keep, a quarter of Patrick Kane. That's $2.75 million. That could cost you a 2nd-round pick. And if you were asking a team to keep a chunk of Erik Karlsson for the next 4 years, wildly complicated. 4 more years on the deal, a lot of real dollars, a lot of cap hit. Things change over time. So anyways, just worth noting. Tyler Mulick is in, says, spill that spaghetti, Seravalli. Yes, Frank Seravalli will be stopping by in just a couple of minutes. We're going to bring in our boy Liam, though, and we're going to talk just a little bit right off the jump here about tonight's opponent, the Detroit Red Wings. It was a spicy affair last time, and a guy who was in the center of it from Detroit's perspective was Tyler Bertuzzi.
Soon to be Oiler, Tyler Bertuzzi?
Well, yeah, I'm going to throw that out there. Liam, is there anyone on this Red Wings roster, maybe it's Bertuzzi, maybe it's someone else, who you'd like to stay in Edmonton after tonight's game?
Mo Sida.
Well, I support that.
Okay, next.
50% retained, maybe?
Bertuzzi would be nice. I think he's, he brings that kind of toughness that the Oilers have been getting into their lineup a little bit, gets under people's skins. Seems like he's just kind of a good teammate overall, to be honest. So I think he's someone who could be handy in the playoffs. I think he'd be right up there as number 1 on my list, to be honest.
Him and Kane are going to have to go for a lunch before anyone makes a decision, I think.
Squash
see
the
if
beef.
We can break some bread and make amends.
Maybe today, like one of the face-offs, Connor McDavid just pulls aside Bertuzzi and says, hey, we're looking at you, right? So be on your best behavior tonight. And maybe Bertuzzi's like, yeah, okay, that's a good point. Don't want him.
Yeah, you can be on my line. So just chill out tonight.
Yeah,
and
calm
let me
down.
get 4 points.
Because as we just showed there, things got really spicy the last time these two teams played. But I'll add, after the Oilers were as flat as they were against Montreal, I think the best thing for them is to play a team that they had some beef with. I think that's one, being back on home ice after a long road trip is always rejuvenating. And I just think playing a team who you had some beef with and who you also beat up on a little bit, I think that's a good sign heading into tonight's game that the Oilers should be very motivated.
I think the last thing that because we weren't that good in that Detroit game. I think the animosity and stuff kind of woke us up and kind of kept us going. So if you're Detroit, you probably don't want to poke the bear if you want to try to pull out a win here. But that stuff tends to find a way to boil over. So yeah, that's going to wake them up. And I expect, we had a very sleepy performance in Montreal the game before, and not really to have to unpack anything in that game. We were on a heater. Heaters normally end on losing to shitty teams, and then they move on and regroup. So whatever, played a bunch of 10-30 games. So don't need to unpack that much more than that. So expect that also to kind of be some motivation coming back, like you said, on home ice, but also with the Red Wings that, we see red literally and figuratively.
I like that. You saw the little side-by-side comparison of how these two teams stack up on the year as a whole. Since the Oilers beat the Red Wings, though, the Red Wings have rattled off 3 straight wins. They beat the Flames 2-1, and then they beat the Canucks 5-2, and beat the Canucks again by a score of 6-1.
Perfect. Due to lose.
1, they're due to lose. 2, I think those wins are maybe a little bit of a facade in the sense that against Calgary, they won 2-1 despite getting outshot 29-7 at 5-on-5. Against Vancouver, they win 5-2. They got outshot 27-19 at 5-on-5. Against Detroit, against the Canucks again, they win 6-1. Still got outshot at 5-on-5, 23-20. This team's giving up a ton of chances, and they're probably scoring, when you look at their 5-on-5 shooting percentages over the past little bit, scoring at a bit of an unrealistic, unsustainable rate as well. This Detroit team can be beaten. Edmonton showed last week they can beat them. I think this is just lining up, and I hate doing this because it feels like whenever I'm confident in the Oilers, they find a way to just smack me in the face with a frying pan of disappointment. But tonight lines up to be a nice game to bounce back. I'm not crazy. They should win this. Everything points at them coming out, playing motivated and playing well.
I think regardless of the opponent, it should be, a high likelihood of victory. And then the fact that there's some spiciness there that I think is gonna, that's the thing. Spiciness does not slow down Connor McDavid. In fact, I think it probably gets him more engaged.
I think he loves it.
So yeah, it just, the recipe for victory is there. Now, do we put it in the oven and set it to the right temperature and bake it for the right amount of time? That's all we need to know. Down to the execution. We're
a couple minutes away from our deadline chat with Frank Seravalli, but you know what right now is? Right now is a record for Oilers Nation Everyday in terms of live viewers in the YouTube chat. We are rolling.
Let's go.
We are rolling.
Thank
the
you.
People want to see Frank Seravalli and hear what he has to say about Karlsson and Chychrun and Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves and everything the Oilers have going on. Ryan O'Reilly, sure.
Mo Sider, I heard Liam said earlier.
Troy Terry. Liam's big on Troy Terry as well. Max Domi. Liam, maybe we'll ask Frank about Max Domi.
I think they're all coming, but we did find some common ground in the chat, Tyler, which has been very difficult to come by the last couple of weeks. Everybody has said no to Gavrikov. Nobody wants Gavrikov here anymore. Everyone's out on Gavrikov for that price.
Okay.
Yeah. Because look what else you can get with those picks.
Yep.
So apparently the ask from Columbus's perspective has been 2 or 3 assets. They want a first and they want a little bit more. The tempting part with Gavrikov is he's $2.8 million against the cap, right? So if they were to hypothetically keep some of that money, I mean, that's a really interesting asset. I think he's good. But I agree. I don't think I want to spend the assets.
I think
potentially
Mikula
required to
was
do this.
that type of defenseman we needed to get.
There's another name. Cheaper. There's another name that I threw out week 2 of the season as a guy to watch. I'm pumping my own tires.
Yeah, he's got his Swami hat on.
Yeah. And Frank actually today on DFO Live said maybe that's a guy to keep an eye on. Let's get that take and more. Frank Seravalli's appearances on the show are brought to you by Star Mechanical. Star Mechanical has been one of Edmonton's top new home plumbing installers for the past 20 years. Their crews are highly qualified. Their crews feature 50 plumbers and gas fitters, 35 of which are Red Seal journeymen. And if you need emergency repair, Star Mechanical has got you covered. 780-481-8873 or check them out online, starmechanical.ca. We bring in Frank Seravalli to Oilers Nation every day. Frank, 16 days until the NHL trade deadline, and you got nice and spicy yesterday on dailyfaceoff.com with your hockey love doctor article connecting Patrick Kane to the Edmonton Oilers. Tell us, is this something that could actually happen? Like, does Patrick Kane to the Oilers make sense?
I think it makes sense from an addition standpoint. I mean, if you were to take a look at the Edmonton Oilers and their forward group, if you were to target one specific area, I think it probably would be the right side. So I do believe there is a fit there. I think the idea of really loading up your forward group and saying we are going to outscore and outrun any of our issues on defense, it would be non-traditional. But I think with this current core as assembled, it may be the way to go. And I don't know if there's necessarily the acquisition cost hang up that you'd be dealing with some of the other players that are on our trade targets board. So is it a possibility? Yes, it will all come down to Patrick Kane and his interest level in potentially joining a team like the Edmonton Oilers for a stretch run.
Doesn't a guy like Jonathan Toews potentially make more sense when you look at the defensive side of his game, winning faceoffs and things like that? Like, there's a part of me, the idea of Patrick Kane running out there with McDavid or Draisaitl and working his Showtime magic, that's very tempting just from an entertainment perspective. But from a hockey perspective, shouldn't the Oilers be focusing more on the defensive side of the puck a little bit?
I mean, you could make that argument. I just think Toews' game has really fallen off in a much more drastic and significant way than Patrick Kane. And I think when you look at Kane and maybe the lingering effects of this hip injury that's sort of been nagging him on and off, I think that's a possible way to explain his drop in production. With Toews, I don't know. I'm way more concerned about his overall impact. I think he's I think you're reaching maybe right now with his play to say that he's a third line center in this league. I just think Patrick Kane has so much more to give when you compare just solely those two Chicago Blackhawks stars.
Yeah, I think you have to agree because, like, it's Toews had that condition and he's come back and he's
missed some games.
There's a lot of miles on those tires, and it's similar to Patty Kane, but Patty Kane's like still in superstar mode, and you give him a change of scenery and feel like he can win again and put him in that situation, he's just gonna
Speaking of superstars, go ahead, Frank.
No, I was gonna say, I don't know if we still have the board from today's Daily Faceoff live show, but I did outline a potential trade and what that may look like. And if you were to take a peek at that, it was something like Xavier Bourgault, who was a first-round pick, a second-round pick, have the Blackhawks take back someone like Jesse Puljujärvi's contract. The money is a wash. And then you trade a fifth-round pick to the third-party broker to help make the money work on Kane's cap hit. That, let's say that is the framework of a deal. And I think it's probably going to be somewhere in that neighborhood. That you would then still have the assets and you're no worse off cap-wise to then go out and target some of those other things that you were just talking about in trying to improve this team from the defensive side of the puck. There's the exact board. You tell me, like, is that an acquisition cost that scares you as an Oiler fan?
Not really, but I think, like, you made the point earlier in the show today that I just wouldn't want this to be the only move. I think if we're looking at it from a improve the team, get them ready to go on a deep cup run, like this, along with something that improves you defensively, that I could get along with. Because the tempting part about this, you're right, Frank, is that you actually don't touch your first round pick in this deal.
Yeah, so I think it's a pure rental that maybe you can convince him if things go magically to stay on a really cheap deal next season. Hey, come on in and you can come live in Duncan Keith's house in Edmonton like old times. and you can sign for whatever it is, $1 million next year, and help this team moving forward. That would be the play if you're the Oilers and things go swimmingly with Kane. But I think point being, this still frees you up to maybe go make other moves. Like, let's say you want to address center, or you want to address some of your penalty killing issues, or you want to go after a depth defender. You could still have all of your assets intact to go after Noel Achari from the St. Louis Blues to play center, someone that's really smart, or a Sam Lafferty who can be a penalty killer, have him come along in the deal with Kane. Or you could go out and get a depth defenseman that you think could maybe help your team, like, just picking a name out of a hat, an Oli Mata. Like, you have tons of options to really go after it if that's the one move you decide to make. It doesn't limit you from doing anything else.
You could still get Erik Karlsson. Saying.
What are we doing here with Karlsson, Frank? Like, I just look at this and the rumors are red hot.
Well, we make them red hot.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
I'm red hot.
We're probably
I'm about to order a jersey. That's how red hot I am, with no evidence supporting the fact it's happening.
I have beaten this to death over the last 2 shows. I don't understand how in season you could possibly make this work.
I don't either. And that's the thing. It's not just from the asset standpoint, which is expensive. It's also from the trade, just to make the money work. Like, I was just talking about this again with Tyler earlier this morning on Daily Faceoff Live, the idea of Erik Karlsson. Let's say you can knock him down to $7 or $7.5 million, and the Sharks are willing to go there. You can trade $3 million out and pull Yarvi, but where is that other 4 or 4.5 coming from on your roster? It has to come from somewhere. So then you tell me which players you're taking out of the mix, and then add in the multiple first round picks plus to make it happen. I just don't see it as a realistic opportunity, not just in Edmonton, but anywhere.
God, it feels like an off-season thing, right?
Man, been watching highlights of him this season. He's
Jay,
so good.
Walk me through this though. Where, I get that he's good, but where do the Oilers need him?
I'm with you. Well, where does he slot in?
No, it's not where does he slot in. What part of your team game is he going to make better?
Like, how could he make the power play better?
This is like, if we're talking about like just going full all offense mode, like that's what that does. Like, he's a 5-on-5 threat. He is clearly would be the power play quarterback. You'd have to make him that. And then if in this situation, this dream world we're creating where we have Karlsson and Kane,
helps you move the puck more, and you could argue that.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like,
you don't have to play as much defense if the puck's moving the other way.
Players are asking for someone who can make a pass, and that's supposed to be Bouchard, but it's not quite there yet. So he also gets the McDavids and the Dreisaitl's fired up, because now there's that pass threat as well. Yeah. And if he can't make the pass, he'll just skate it up the ice.
Okay,
so like, there's a fit. Argument. It's just how do you make the trade work? And you don't want to give up Tyson Barrie, because we actually need him from a defensive standpoint. He's really stepped up that
and their most consistent D-man this year.
So like I get it. Like, how do you? It's a weird puzzle to put together.
Okay, so then you trade Tyson Barrie because you you have to move someone, right? And you're taking him off of your power play. What if your power play suddenly gets worse? Like, consider this from the San Jose Sharks standpoint, okay? They go and they trade for Erik Karlsson and sign him to this massive deal, and he was no good the last 4 seasons. And I know part of it were injury related, but they were thinking Karlsson and Burns, same team. This is going to be unstoppable. We're going to be in such a great spot. I just think there's a risk of taking a power play that's been operating at a league best 31% and changing out a core piece of it to then all of a sudden think that it's just going to magically go swimmingly because you're adding a player of Karlsson's ilk. It's not a guarantee.
It's fair. No, and that's fair. But like, in the current way he's playing, like I said, the injuries are like, he could be a ticking time bomb to get hurt. But like, current state, Erik Karlsson, you see him walk that blue line. Like, he is way more mobile than anyone else we can put on the blue line. That just opens up a threat. Normally it's McDavid moving around, creating all that space. Now, if you have that dual threat of mobility, like you're going to put people's minds in a pretzel. Like, I'm just talking about the current state, Erik Karlsson. Once again, like, this is just all dream world shit I'm talking about.
So I'm glad that you said current state, because that means you also are getting him for the next 4 seasons on basically a robo ankle.
He's half metal from the waist down.
Oh, metal doesn't break as easy as bone, I guess.
We don't have a lot of time left with Frank, and there's one more area that I want to touch on with him. And Frank, it's what are they going to do to get Kyler Yamamoto off of LTIR? Because all the reports we kind of hear, Yamamoto's running around at practice, hitting guys, and he seems ready to go. They can't activate him until someone goes on waivers. They didn't put someone on waivers the last 2 days. What's the solution here?
I actually haven't asked about that in recent days, but I would say that they could probably pull the trigger on a Puljujarvi deal if they wanted to, if they needed an outlet to do so. But I think they're waiting to find out what the deal is with Klim Kostin before then going any further.
Okay.
So he's skating with the team again today.
He is, yeah.
Was he skating with like
a line? Yes.
A line? Okay.
I believe so.
Did he stay after practice?
I don't know. Gregor says Yamamoto was on the ice late after practice today. Won't be activated. So we'll wait and see still on the Puljujarvi and the Yamamoto front. Outside of Edmonton, Frank, the one area I wanted to hit on, the Kings signed Mikey Anderson today to an 8-year extension. Does that at all tie into potential Jacob Chychrun talks? Like, how is Jacob Chychrun still a member of the Arizona Coyotes? It felt like on Saturday a deal was going to get done.
Yeah, it did feel like it was trending that direction, and I'm sure the Coyotes probably felt like it was as well. Depending on who you talk to, the LA Kings say they've got nothing going on the Chychrun front, and they're not in it. So that Mikey Anderson deal is a big contract, and it's really interesting because I had a team refer to the LA Kings and the right side of their defense, or just their defense in general, as a right shot bullpen. They've got so many guys that are on the right side. They've got to move someone, whether it's Matt Roy or Sean Walker, whoever it is. They need to balance things out better on the left side. Sean Durzee's playing on his offside as well. Whether that's acquiring someone like Chychrun or trading away a couple of those other pieces, they need to rebalance it. And getting Anderson locked up, they actually missed him for a chunk of time last year, and you could tell really missed him. That getting him locked up on the left side will go a long way.
Frank, you got the people fired up. Not only did we hit 250 live viewers for the first time, we hit 300. And then we hit 350, and we're still rolling. So we appreciate you getting the people fired up. Frank, I know you're a busy man, so we'll let you run. Talk to you next week.
See you guys.
There you go, Frank Seravalli for our friends at Star Mechanical. Once again, starmechanical.ca, or go follow them on Instagram. We just gave them a shout-out on our Oilers Nation Instagram story. Click that. Follow them. Come on, they're great people down at Star Mechanical and starmechanical.ca. It is a Sherwood Ford Giant game day. We will preview the game against the Red Wings coming up, but let's just digest what Frank Seravalli told us. And I guess, Liam, you were sitting patiently.
He told me we are going to get Erik Karlsson without telling me we're not getting Erik Karlsson.
He kind of echoed what, like, it'll be so hard to make that deal work.
Want Frank to drink the Kool-Aid once, you know?
Liam, you were listening along on that conversation. What stood out to you?
I guess, like, the possibility of Karlsson, of course, is something that is interesting. The Mikey Anderson thing kind of came out of nowhere. I actually had no idea that had even happened. So that's, do you think that like affects Bouchard at all?
It's an interesting comparison, honestly. Like, that is what an 8-year deal for a young top 4 D-man kind of looks like. It's $4.1 million.
Yeah, they're the same player.
Well, no, they're not the same player. I would argue that Bouchard's earning potential is higher because he's an offensive D-man.
Well, okay. Is he? Like, he's putting up points-ish.
Yeah, Mikey Anderson is like, if the spectrum of offensive to defensive defensemen, like, they're probably on complete opposite ends. Anderson has 6 goals in 172 games. So still, though, to lock up a young defenseman who's good at something costs you 8 years, $4.1 million. Would you give Bouchard that deal right now?
No comment.
I don't know if I would.
Thank you, Liam.
I would.
I think it has
a chance. I think it'd have a chance to be Clefbaum-esque, right?
If it's a sign and trade,
maybe.
sure.
Jesus.
But the Patrick Kane stuff is something that kind of stood out to me too.
Yes, Liam. I think Frank is saying it without saying it, that like it's a real like that's the hottest rumor, I think, around the Oilers, even though we're just circling the wagons around Karlsson. Like Frank did not dismiss it at all. He made it seem like it's a very practical and realistic outcome. And like that's an interesting signal from Frank. Because like he'll poo-poo anything if because Frank is a very fact-based guy. So like that, like I'm sitting here listening. I'm like, he's talking as if, and I'm like, okay, like clearly Chicago would be comfortable with it, and clearly Edmonton would be comfortable with it.
Is Kane comfortable with it?
Well, this is like, and so this is ultimately where the Connor McDavid effect comes in, right? Yep. Like now it doesn't matter, especially, you know, players like Kane's already won. He's already a Hall of Famer. Like he's done it, but like he's still a gamer, right? So like he was pissed that he didn't get to the Rangers because Rangers have a very good, a very big need for him, but also like they've got potential to go deep, right? So then you've got Carolina that needs a star, but we're also in a position where, you know, just with a couple different added ingredients, like we are a legit contender. And so, you know, like that's McDavid fit. Doesn't matter what market you're in. It's about winning. So if we're in a legitimate position of winning, then Patty Kane doesn't care where it is.
Yeah.
Right. It's about circumstance. Yeah. And if, you know, and this is where Duncan Keith, you know, post career can be a factor in why Patty Kane would come to Edmonton. Just to Frank's point, go live at his house. Right. I don't know if Duncan Keith has a house here, but Duncan Keith can tell him where to live. Could go rent Patty Kane a house because Duncan Keith's now part of the organization. Like there's a lot of like, if you really think and unpack this, like I think there's a real reality that Patty Kane could be an Oiler, which is super weird and surreal to say.
Bison King Stan says Patty Kane is just small Draisaitl. No thanks. Liam, you have a point to make though on Patty Kane.
Yeah, so it's about like the value of it. So I mentioned this on ONR yesterday, but it feels like we're paying way more for Patrick Kane by giving up like a Borgo than what New York just had to pay for Tarasenko, no? Like they gave up a guy who hasn't scored a goal, an ECHL player for 50% retained a first round pick, and maybe there was something else in there. I can't remember, but
we have to give maybe up that's why Chicago wants to say yes, because we're just giving them the offer that they want.
It just feels like
that's the reason why Chicago didn't do the trade. Chicago probably didn't. I'm sure the Rangers were knocking on the door, and they just didn't get the price.
Maybe, yeah, maybe it's just I don't know, to give up Borgo when we've just seen what the market's at seems like a lot. I'm not saying I don't want Patrick Kane. I've been asking us to get this guy.
Borgo's our first rounder. Like they got a first rounder.
Yeah,
right.
So
and then the second rounder we're giving is Sammy Blais, and then Puljujärvi is a salary dump. So like, I
agree. I just think Puljujärvi, he's an NHL player. Like he have like 6 goals this season or whatever it is. Like he contributes in a good way. Borgo, you don't really fully know what you have, and then you're giving up a late second round pick. I don't know. I think I would just rather give up a late first round pick and try and keep Borgo in it too. But I'm also not saying I wouldn't say yes to this deal. I just think it's interesting that was the market, and now we have to give up a little bit extra.
Yep.
It's just, if we're doing the Patty Kane rental situation, and like I said, if we go on a deep run, maybe he does stay. Like that's, once again, the winning environment. But, you know, in the worst case scenario, if he's just a rental, it's just what else are we doing?
Yeah. Original Puzar says, Kane doesn't make sense. He's a shadow of himself with his hip injury. On top of that, he's terrible defensively. And with none of Kane, Hyman, Dry, McDavid being plus defensive players, can't have Kane here. And I agree with that. Which is why, again, to your point earlier, and I liked it, was there has to be another move. It can't just be Kane. Kane can't be the guy, which sounds insane to say that. Like Patty Kane can't be your one deadline addition. You have to do something, in my opinion, to make yourself better defensively, because come playoff time, that's really going to matter.
Like we're going to go full throttle offense. If you bring on a Patty Kane, you're just going full throttle offense. And then we just have to do some defensive tightening on the back end to allow and protect ourselves from the mistakes that are about to be made. But with that kind of firepower, even in the playoffs, we should be putting up goals. And we've proven that we've done it. We did it. That's all we did last playoff season. It was a track meet.
Interesting note from Frank about a potential Puljujarvi deal, saying they could pull, I'm paraphrasing here, so don't shoot me, but they could pull a trigger on it if they wanted
It's like they've got one in their back pocket or something.
Yeah, and that makes sense as to maybe why he wasn't put on waivers, and they're just waiting to make sure their cap situation is exactly what
if you're going to guess. Will be. So if you're just going to guess, who is this back pocket deal with?
Arizona. Like Anaheim's been around for so long that like I have a hard time discounting them.
I have no idea. Mentally, for some reason, I'm saying Columbus, and I have no. Actually, no, because Jarmo Kekalainen.
I don't think Kekalainen will want him. Yeah,
but maybe he can whisper him in Finnish.
Yeah. Who is even suggesting Darnell Nurse trades? I thought we were done with that. I agree with Tyson in the chat. New rule: if you suggest a Darnell Nurse trade, you get put into timeout.
Would you trade straight up Karlsson for Nurse?
Nurse has a no trade clause, so not even answering it.
Maybe he loves
what, San Jose?
San Jose.
Doubt it.
Maybe he wants to get closer to the Facebook office because he watched the Social Network and really is interested.
Nope.
Okay. Maybe he's a big 49ers fan.
That is a possibility. Something we have not considered within these trades. Who is their favorite NFL team?
And maybe he loves the Golden State Warriors.
Kyle, I see your comment, Kyle Ritchie, in the chat, and I love it. I'm just not taking this conversation. We're not doing that today. It is a Sherwood Ford Giant game day, though. A lot of trade talk. It has the people buzzing. They are fired up. Let's talk about what the Oilers got to do to beat the Detroit Red Wings tonight and get back in the win column with our keys to victory. I outlined it. This is a Red Wings team that has kind of gotten caved in the shot department over their 3-game winning streak, and I think that means they are ripe for a loss. Outshot in 3 in a row and outshot by at least 7 shots in each of those games as well, despite the fact they've outscored their opposition 15-4 in that span. Still, I like Edmonton today, and I like them because I think they're going to get to those high danger areas really well. The Wings have been giving up a lot of chances. I'm saying that's not enough. You got to get to that, what they call the home plate shot area. You got to generate some really, really dangerous looks. You're going to get time with the puck. Remember in the last game against Detroit, the first 5 minutes, the Oilers were all over them in the offensive zone, cycling like crazy, but they just didn't get to those dangerous areas and generate quality scoring chances off their zone time. My key to victory: get quality scoring chances off the zone time. You will get, because it'll come. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense,
Thank
Tyler. Makes perfect sense. Like, this is just a bounce back game for us. Good teams don't lose twice, right? And I know we've come out of a long skid, but I feel like we've entered a new mode, a new chapter into the season. We're a lot better. We got Vinny Wee Winnie in the lineup. He's now suffered a first loss.
He'll be motivated.
He broke Arbor Xhekai's hand on his head.
Got a hard skull.
So, he's fired up about that. So I just feel like it's going to be a bounce back game. We're playing a team we got some bad blood with, so that's going to get the juices going. That's going to get a guy like Kane going. I think Connor, everyone had a rough night in Montreal, so we always expect Connor to bounce back. So if Connor's buzzing, then we just don't lose when that happens. So just go and continue the cave, keep caving.
Yeah,
go spelunking. Are you with me here on that?
Spelunking.
Yes.
I don't even know what that means.
That's the act of going into caves. Yep. Be spelunkers and continue to cave the Detroit Red Wings.
Liam, what's your key to victory?
My key to victory is to not let what happened last game overwhelm the Oilers and become the game, I guess is a good way to say it.
Yeah.
Yes, you can be gritty, whatever, go fight everybody, but just don't let it become the entire game and let it influence what you're there to do tonight. You're better than the Detroit Red Wings, and just prove it by scoring 5 goals, 1 a power play goal, and maybe an empty net.
Bag Milk says, Get Tyler a headlamp and get in that cave. Tyler Mulick says, big cave guys. Rusty says, cave diving, basically. I don't know how we even got to this point, but sure, why not? A bunch of people yelling at me to reference a Gregor tweet, and I don't even know what they're talking about. If they're talking about the one where he says, Yamamoto on the ice after practice won't be activated, Campbell starts, it's all expected. We all kind of knew that was coming down. Jack Campbell starting, I guess, is a little bit of news. So
maybe Gregor announced that he's wearing a new pair of glasses.
Gregor,
a new color of glasses.
Maybe he announced he's retiring the lime green glasses. That'd be a big day.
Moving on. That's big news because he loves those glasses.
Giant key to victory brought to you by Sherwood. The Giant, Sherwood Service Center, just a few clicks away. The link is in the description of today's episode. Whether you need free valet service or pickup or drop off or their mobile service center, it is all A1 stuff. Find out more by heading to their website, sherwoodford.ca. Betting time. Do we need to flash up the graphic? Shout out to our friends at Betway 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Liam?
There it is.
There it is.
Special, really. 0-4 for Jay.
I am on the schneid.
3-1. Jay, is tonight the night, though?
I think I need an updated. I think I need an updated bio photo. I think my bio photo is cursed. I think I need something that's like, yes, I'm wearing Oilersnation app, but that's my bio for my Explore Edmonton board member page on the website or whatever. So I think we need something more nation-y. Figure it out. I'll find one. We'll break the hex with that.
It can be changed. It can be
changed.
changed.
We have the technology.
Yes.
I'm going back to Leon Draisaitl tonight, actually. I think he'll be hungry. I think, coming off a loss, he played really good against Ottawa, and I was holding out hope that he would find a way to build on that against the Montreal Canadiens. That didn't happen, but back on home ice, I like Leon Draisaitl to have a big night, and I like the Oilers to win. Give me Dry 2+ points, Oilers money line at +140. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
I went with a lock, and that was the Oilers to win, over 6.5 goals, and McDavid to score. How many points away is he from 100 now? I've lost track. I also just haven't locked, so.
Well, he didn't get a point last game, so I think he's still 6 away.
6 away. Does he get that tonight? Could that be an option on
Betway? Sorry, he's 3 away.
Yeah.
3 away, my bad.
Okay. Then I think he gets that tonight. I'm going to make a side bet that I will not put towards this, but McDavid to get 3 or more points tonight too.
I could see it.
Yeah, I can see it too. I wish you could parlay an Oilers win and 3+ points. That would be lovely. I'm just, I think this is going to be a high scoring affair. So once again, I'm on tilt. I really want to go chase that juice. I do. Betway gave me a free $10 bet, and I did put it on something that's +1,300. And I will share it with you because this is my caveat. Oilers money line over 6.5. Leon and Bertuzzi both to score. +1,300.
You're hoping Tyler Bertuzzi gets his first of many goals this year at Rogers Place.
Well, hopefully Uncle Ken sees that and says, he might make a good Oiler.
Am I crazy for liking Verana maybe more than him in terms of how a deal could work?
Tyler.
So you could get Bertuzzi and give up a pick, but if Verana's just on the scrap heap and you could get the Wings to keep like $3 million instead of a buyout, they just keep some of the money and you trade Puljujarvi the other way and you get Verana for 2 years. He scores a ton, Jay. He scores so much. That'd be tempting. He's a left winger, though.
He's playing in the AHL right now.
He's back up.
Was he back up
We'll
tonight?
see him tonight. Huh?
Oh, okay. But anyways, my bet for the night is Oilers money line and over 6.5. Just because I just got to get a W here.
All right. There's our.
I'm grinding.
Our Betway Game Day Challenge. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Tyler Mulick says hockey trade Verana for Puljujarvi. That guy, like, you look at the rates and how he scores. If he was a right winger, man, that would be a dream fit. So it's not quite on that level, but I don't know. He'd be so good. Help him score. If you want to outscore your problems, there you go. Oh, it's going to be a fun 16 days.
All the speculation in the world.
It's the best.
But it's funny that we're like literally like, and it's got to be some smoke on some of these, but like, we're connected to some of the biggest names, which is, something we're not used to. We're just used to getting the Kulikov,
Okay, everyone is tagging me in this, so we'll talk about it. Gregor sent out a tweet yesterday that said, Edmonton made an offer. San Jose will counter or decline. GMs make offers on trades quite often, but many aren't accepted.
That's so vague.
It's so vague. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe they did.
Well, maybe the offer is, I don't know, Fogle, Puljujärvi,
50% retained
a
Karlsson,
first and 50% retained Karlsson.
And the Sharks, Mike Greer looked at it and was like, yeah, no, that's not happening.
That's an offer, and Mike Greer is definitely entitled to counter to it.
Yeah,
or maybe it was a legit offer, and maybe we're getting Erik Karlsson. Like, everyone get Sports Clause on speed dial, because the minute that's announced, let's all get our jerseys.
Yeah, I would. It'd be really exciting. I'd just be nervous about what they give up and all of that. Karlsson, Kane.
Man, watch the highlights. He is so, like, I get it. Like, the last couple years, and like the shitty thing is last year you could have gotten a first-round pick for taking Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
But he's found his groove, and like, he is an elite guy. So if his bionic ankle can hold, and it's bionic now, it's not relying on anything else. Man, you watch him. He is so good. And look at that photo of him in an Oilers jersey. He looks so sexy.
They don't even wear those anymore.
Doesn't matter.
Why isn't he wearing a helmet?
That's him at a charity game in Sweden right now. He got an orange Oilers jersey made.
Could Swedish defenseman Erik Karlsson convince Oscar Klefbom to come back for league minimum next year?
Well, he needs a bionic shoulder.
Maybe Karlsson knows a guy.
Well, yeah, he does in the bionic game.
His bionic punch card is
Wolverine's his buddy. He's got, what is it, unobtainium or adamantium or something in his. He's good now, but man, like, you just walk. God, he's so good. He's so good. Erik Karlsson is so good.
Gregor apparently also saying as many as 10 teams in on Ryan O'Reilly. So
shocker. I'm surprised not 31 teams are.
But that bidding is that could potentially go through the roof.
So maybe everyone get focused on that, and that's where we scoop under, and we get Ryan O'Reilly light and Tyler Bertuzzi, even though I know he's not a center. I'm saying really light. But someone with, I don't really, I guess he plays, he's not gritty. Like, he plays hard, but he's just a really smart, good hockey player. So that definitely is not Tyler Bertuzzi, but still he would be a factor in our lineup.
Bag Milk's been super active in the chat today. I've just been
What's he saying?
He's been, at first he was trying to launch some calendar I'm putting together, like a sexy Tyler calendar.
Nice.
I don't know why. And then he claims he has this collection of photos and he'll just make the calendar himself, because I was ignoring the comments.
That is probably accurate. I probably took half those photos of you two in LA.
Probably.
Very sensual.
Anyways, Bag Milk's having fun in there, which is great to see. We had a lot of people watching the show today, and it was great. Shout out to everyone who was maybe watching for the first time as well. This is what the show is going to be like for the next 16 days as we lead up until the NHL trade deadline. We've been going like crazy, too. I think this was our 10th consecutive day of Oilers Nation Every Day because of the weekend shows. They're playing Friday. They play Sunday against Colorado as well. Gonna be a lot going on. I'm very excited for the next 2 weeks, because I know there's been some comments from Holland about him saying, I might have to stay quiet. And there's been some reports that it's not impossible that Ken Holland does nothing. I don't know if I buy it. I think he's gonna get a little itchy right away.
Like, hopefully he's just being old school and like just, trying to be covert. Right?
Yeah.
Just being covert, saying he's not going to do these things, but really he's doing some things.
Once
again, I am waiting until March 3rd at 1:01 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to really adjust how I'm going to be. I'm either going to be the most elated Oilers fan ever, or I'm going to be extremely crusty because we have let down the players on this roster.
We'll see. We will have a 4-hour Daily Faceoff trade deadline special with myself and Frank Seravalli. And then right when the deadline hits, we'll have a new episode of ONR. And then later on that day, we're going to have a special edition of Oilers Nation Every Day. So we will have all of your content.
And then we're going to host a reaction show of Tyler's show.
Yeah, so I'll be sitting here doing
so
the show.
Many shows.
And then Jay will be right there recording himself, reacting to my show.
Yes, with Tyler in the background.
Yeah. There's no way that wouldn't get confusing. All right. Thanks for tuning in today, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow noon Mountain Time, breaking down the Red Wings game, maybe talking some more trades as well, because, we always get roped into it. Shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant for another fantastic Sherwood Ford Giant game day, as well as Star Mechanical, the sports closet, where you can get your own Clean Costin jersey like Jay has here. Also, Betway and Montana's. 3 big things for Montana's coming up tomorrow at noon Mountain Time. We'll chat with you then. Thanks, everybody.